shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatterspodcast1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is now Ask George. Good evening, George.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you all again.
You know how this works now. Get your questions in over the next 59 minutes and we will ask George and George will give the best answers he can give. And Phil Scott was straight in this afternoon by email. And don't forget, if you can't get into the chat for whatever reason, don't forget you can email us nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Phil's question was this, George. I agree that clear and open communication is essential for the success of any business, company, school, or football club. So, George, what, in your opinion, should a fan base know or is entitled to know? And conversely, what should a fan base not know?
Wow, that's a good question, Phil, because it's an important one. The fan base, in my opinion, should know the things that are going to affect what's happening on the field directly. I wouldn't expect the fan base to know the details of financial details of deals they're trying to do or deals they're doing inside the club. And I wouldn't expect the fan base to know the fine details of negotiations with players. That's between the club and the player, in my opinion. So I think for me, it boils down to what's happening on the field and to a limited extent what's happening off the field. The best examples I can give are in recent times, I suppose, was when Amanda was at the club, and she used to let the fans, take I use the Anthony Gordon transfers is a good example. It was happening and people knew it was happening, but she said nothing until the deal was done, and then she revealed what had gone on, which is how it should be, in my opinion. But to expect fans to know every mortal detail from the moment things kick off is too much, in my opinion. The areas where slightly frustrating at the moment are because we've been slow in acting on replacing various people at the club, and increasingly people are criticising the fact that we've not heard anything more about the new stadium. It's been very slow, and we haven't heard much about the new training ground and all the rest of it. Well, to expect all that to happen sort of overnight, it just isn't realistic. Somebody, I think on Fans Forum, was quoting the fact that they'd seen the Leicester training ground, and that was fantastic. But that didn't happen overnight. It was that's a that was a 5-year, 7-year project from the day they cut the first sod. So I think fans are entitled to know how their club's being run to a limited extent, but not the fine detail. Wouldn't expect them to get into the fine details of finance and all the rest of it. But I do think we've missed a trick in the last few months with the big gaps in the senior management team, and consequently Eddie's had to field everything. But I want to know what's happening to my team. Basically, I want to know, what's happening in the team, and what's likely to be happening to the team, and not much more. I mean, I watched them today in Korea, and it was great to see all the young ones getting to run out and all that sort of thing. Well, I want to know about that, but other stuff I'm not so sure we're entitled to know about.
Okay, good question. Thank you, Phil. Don't forget, if you want to email us, nufcmatters1892@gmail.com is the email to do so. Stephen Kennedy says, George, do we sell Isak to a rival? If we do, can we get some sort of deal where he doesn't face us this season? Or are Liverpool playing with us to undermine the transfer window? Because I could easily see Liverpool waiting till we spend our money on 2 replacements and then not make an offer or pull out at the last second, leaving us short of cash for other much needed recruits. And he also says, if he is to stay, will he have the heart to put up with some of the grief he's going to get? Because he will get some, not from me, but you know how our fans get when we are disrespected.
My view, from the day one when he first set the. Remember, please, that it was, as far as I'm concerned, it was Alexander Isak that set this hair running. And once you do that, you put yourself in a very difficult position. And we've had lots of them over the years. Steve Wraith will know about some of them. People like, Johan Cabai, Dyer, Pop Robson. I can go back to the 50s where people stuck their heels in and said, I'm not doing this, or I want to transfer for this. And the one or two that changed their minds never got the respect of the fans again. And Alexander Isak will struggle to get my respect again. You see, he's now what he's done, as I indicated last night, I'm now looking at the 6 or 7 games towards the end of the year where he wasn't actually performing very well. In fact, he was anonymous in several of them. Now I'm saying to myself in my mind, was he looking for a transfer then? Or were we kidded by the fact that people were saying, oh, he's carrying an injury? Never seen any evidence he was carrying an injury. And all of that, fans will remember those things. And if he doesn't go, he's going to have quite a lot. I would be amazed if he doesn't have some stick to put up with. He's going to have to come up with a good excuse. Liverpool, in my opinion, have played a dirty game, in my view. They got the other guy we were looking to look at, and then made it known publicly via their team press people that Isak was on the list and all the rest of it. If they were to get Isak for 150 million, that would take their summer spending to over £500,000. And I don't even think they would do that. And from the manager's mouth, there hasn't been a bid for Isak. He may well have painted himself into a corner. And with 3 years on his contract to go, gosh, what a difficult corner he's painted himself into. He'd have to demonstrate to me very quickly that he was back on board. But I don't lose sight of the fact, A, it was him that set the hair running, considering his options. And B, the timing. The timing couldn't have been worse for the team and for Eddie Howe to handle all of that. So he's got a lot of explaining to do if he does stay. If he doesn't stay, then whoever takes him is going to have to pay upfront £150 million. and with that, we should be well able to support the team right across the board. But I honestly don't think it'll be Liverpool. I think they've played a double hander there with that, and are enjoying the fact that we are squirming. And as you go on to Spurs fanzines at their fan site at the moment, and they're all saying the same thing. Well, this is what the press did to us with Kane. For 5 years, Kane was going, and eventually he went. But we've put up with this for a while. But I'm disappointed at the part that Alexander Isak played in the thing. So and I'm quietly confident. I don't know why, but just the way Eddie Howe does business and did business before when he did transfers, I'm quietly confident in the background things are happening that we don't know anything about. And in a couple of weeks' time, Eddie will suddenly announce a couple of names that will knock people's socks off, or at least make people think, get a surprise, and that and they will come whether Isak's there or not.
I tell you what, if it does happen, he deserves an Oscar for Best Actor, because at the moment he looks devoid of ideas and looks absolutely sick as a chip at the press conferences. Yeah. So, if and out of his own mouth yesterday, he hasn't got any ideas what's going on. So that leads to the next question: is Andy Howe to blame for the transfer mess at Newcastle, and where is Steve Nixon? I mean, is it really Andy Howe and Steve Nixon we should be looking at? Is it not PIF in this situation?
I was going to say, anybody that's watched me here on other platforms knows I've been saying for a while that while people were twittering on about the Liverpool bids and all that sort of thing, I've been saying, I hope somebody in the office at PIF is sitting down now and penning a new contract. There was, that's where it should have gone. That's where I hoped it would have gone. And because he's got this 3-year deal, I'm not saying it needed to be done now, but in the situation he's in and the way he's playing, it needed to be sorted quickly. And that's definitely somebody in PIF. That's not Andy Howe and Steve Nixon are recruiters. They're not involved in financial matters. If you look at what they've done over the summer in terms of youngsters, we've done fantastically. So I wouldn't go to Howe and Nixon, but I would go to the people that are well above that, even above Eddie Howe. It had that decision about writing a contract had to be made by somebody at director level at PIF. And I can't help but wonder the fact that the chairman's over here now hasn't got something to do with it, to be perfectly honest. Maybe he's asking questions, why wasn't this sorted out, and all the rest of it. But Alexander Isak, he's bound to look down because he's placed himself in a nearly impossible situation, and what it irritates me with some of these people is they say that they've bought into the project, they've bought into the Tyne's ideal, and all the rest of it, and they kiss the badge, and they get up on the stage at the celebrations, and they talk a little bit of Geordie, and think they're in it. Well, I'll read, kid, you're in a mess. I'd say to Alexander Isak, you're in a mess, kid. So yeah, it's not good, not good.
Stephen Kennedy says it's definitely PIF's fault. I'm hearing Man United have opened talks with Sesko. George, I wish I had your hope on two biggies incoming. And really, when you look at it, George, I think we're right. PIF need to come and explain to us as supporters, via an intermediate, what on earth is going on. I mean, we've spent £55 million in this window, but if you amortize that contract and factor in the long-staff profit, we've actually spent nothing. Yeah,
and even I realise that there's about 250 million sitting in the bank doing out.
Exactly.
It's bomb.
This is why Newcastle fans are frustrated. And I mean, you mentioned earlier, you said 1,000, but I know you meant millions. Liverpool, at this moment in time have spent 295.5 million, and if they do buy Isak, it'll be hitting 500 million.
Yeah.
Chelsea 218 million, Arsenal nearly 200 million, Man City 160 million, Man United 140 million, Spurs 120 million, Sunderland 135 million, albeit on some fairly unknown players. But let's get back to the questions. Trying to vary the questions so we're not having a complete meltdown as we can do sometimes on this platform about certain things. God, it's so difficult because everyone is talking about Isak. There's one here from Sefton Mag. George, remember the club shop in the 70s? Here, Margaret. And you could join the supporters club and book your travel with Armstrong's Galley. Have you got any memorabilia from this decade?
Oh gosh, yes. I've had them on here before. I've got a couple of rosettes that my mother bought in there for us when I went on an away trip with the family and things like that. I know I've got a scarf from that era, and our Neil, the Geordie dentist, he wears a one round his neck when he goes to match, which used to belong to my father. So yeah, we've got a fair bit of stuff from the old shop. Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
I had a lot of time with him in there. Sadie was lovely. George, what is your favourite book that you like to read?
Oh, well, if I'm in a serious mood, I'm into John Steinbeck as one of my favourite authors. So it's going to be The Grapes Are Off. Is an incredible book and turned into an incredible picture. When I'm in a more romantic mood, I might read or reread Alice in Wonderland. People think that they're children's stories. Not far from it. Far from it. There's so much good sense come out of there, out of them. So that's two I would pick.
Okay, good stuff. Rob Maltman, our designer, he says, good evening, George. Just like to say it was a pleasure meeting you at the Beresford Howie Watson event. Great to see the passion for the club is still burning within you.
Yes, yeah. It I try and put a positive slant on things. I'm not a negative person. He said I don't, in my vocabulary, things like, I'll say the words and I don't like using them. Words like hate and angry aren't even in my dictionary. They're such negative concepts, and people waste a lot of energy on things like that, when if they just turn to be a little bit more positive, their life would be so much easier, and so would a lot of other people's life. Well, Steve knows I was once asked on here what I would say to people. I was any youngster that was starting life and starting work, and what would I tell them to do? And the word I used was kind. Be kind. There's nothing to lose in being kind, but there's an awful lot to use if you start getting mixed up with certain things that drag you into those horrible words of hate and angry. So that's my philosophy. And I take it with me football. Don't forget, I've been supporting 70 odd years now, not long before it's 80 years. Before, throughout, it wasn't just me, it was me grandfathers, my father, my uncles. In the 40s, when I was growing up during the war, I had two uncles at home who were the youngest brothers of my mother. But they were more like two big brothers, and they were a pair of scallywags. So they used to take me to all sorts of things. And from the minute I could walk, they were desperate to get me into St. James's Park. And when they eventually did, when I was 4 years old, it was on the basis of a pack of bloody lies, which my grandmother and grandfather would have went mad if they'd heard about it. But that's the extent they went. And of course, when we went to away matches, the whole family went. We hired Alfie Holland's bus, and Alfie Holland's used to get the tickets in those days. The bus companies got the tickets, like Armstrong Galley used to get the tickets. You could get get on the bus and get your match ticket as well. And Alfie Hollins used to take all over the country. You know, there were only 30-seater buses, I think, at the time. And it was great. It was brilliant. And when I was old enough, I went on those as well. So, you know, I'm steeped in it. It's part of my life. And as you can see, it's been passed on to our Neil, mostly through my father, mate. My father was the instigator for Neil as much as I was.
Okay, good stuff. Would you ever consider writing a book, says Sefton Mag?
Sefton, I certainly would consider it. I've got a bit of a problem though. I'm being pressed by two former professional colleagues to write books with them. And one of them's a senior professor in my subject, Professor John Calder, one of the cleverest and nicest men I've ever met, wants us to collaborate on a book which talks both about our professional lives and our private lives. So he wants us to do the professional stuff, and then an odd chapter on my private stuff, like my time as a magistrate and my time as a deputy lieutenant, my time working for the government, the Home Office as a volunteer. You know, he used to be fascinated by all of that. So he used to give us the time off to do it. So there's that pressure to write a book. But certainly I would consider it. And with the help of Steve Ray doing all those were the days things, I think I've nearly got enough material in that to nearly write a book, actually, which would be a book about my perspective of Newcastle United, by the way. I'm not the club's historian by any means.
Yeah, John Spence says we used to book travel for away games at the Bridge Hotel bar with the supporters club in the 70s. Yeah, lots of people did. And next question is from Sean. Can we bring PSG to the table if they buy for 130? We should guarantee the purchase of either Ramos or Muani or both. We need to be cutting. We need to look after our fans' enthusiasm ASAP. I mean, this is going to run and run, isn't it? Really, with Isaac until something gets sorted. Everyone has their own thoughts about it. I did chuck it into the mix last night, though, that this did happen with Salah. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 seasons in a row. Absolutely. People linking him with a move, and you mentioned Harry Kane there as well.
Yeah, and there's one slight difference. At no time did Salah ever say, I'm looking at my options, and neither Harry Kane either. But what troubles me with this one is, as far as I'm concerned, and I might be totally wrong and doing a lad an injustice, this all starts when Alexander Isak says, I'm considering my options. And that those words will haunt them, I think, but never mind. But you're right. It's not the first. You'll not be the first and last player, and I can understand it. It would be naive to not to imagine that one of the most exciting strikers we've seen in a lifetime, and probably one of the most exciting strikers in the world when he's on his game. I mean, some of the games he's played for us have been out of this world, and some of the goals he's scored, I mean, goals out of absolute nothing, which make him just that bit different, and mazy dribbles and all that. It would be naive to think that this wouldn't happen, but equally, the way we've handled it hasn't been very clever either. And that's why the timing gets me. The timing couldn't have been worse for Eddie Howe or anybody else. So, you're right, Steve. All the big players that are that sort of level have experienced the same. It's how they handle it, and then I just think I think Alexander Isak's been badly advised, in my opinion, but that could be wrong.
Phil Scott says, back in the day, what was the best place to park on a match day, George? It's an age thing.
Oh, yes. Well, I when I was old enough to drive and have a car, put it that way, of course, as a member of staff in the university, I used to have a parking space in the university. So I used to park in one of the university car parks. If I could get in early enough, I used to park in the ones in the old King Edward VI building opposite the RVI, the red brick building, which used to be the medical school many years ago. And there was a car park there, which which is you park there and you have 5 minutes walk to the ground. It was magic. But any of the university car parks would have been. On the other hand, if I ever wanted to get really close, get really close to the ground and go very early, I used to try and sneak into that little car park that's opposite the Strawberry, if I could. But to do that, you used to have to go in, at the crack of dawn. You'd be sitting for hours before the match started.
Okay, George, which player would you like to see have a great season next season?
Next season, I want to see 2 or 3 players have great seasons. I want to see Sandro Tonali. I want to see Anthony Elanga. And I would love to see Lewis Miley start to show his promise, the promise that he showed when he first got into the team. There are signs in the games he's played in Korea that's starting to come. But I really would like to see him challenge for a place, not just be a known substitute or a steady substitute, but actually challenge for a place. Actually make such an impact that he has to find a space for him. If that means pushing Big Joe out on the left or whatever, so be it. But so there's 3 names I'd give you, because Tonali's a class player, but he's now got the chance of a full season to demonstrate his class, and I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, next question. George, what's your thoughts on adults wearing replica shirts when they're not at the match or with a name on the back? Certain YouTubers like to criticise fans for it. Now, careful, George, because I like to wear replica tops, and it doesn't matter when. I wear them all the time, to be honest.
Well,
and,
so do I.
I'm over 50.
Yeah. Well, I don't wear them all the time, but I've got enough in my wardrobe that I could. And I would never criticise anybody for wearing the colours. I mean, to be honest, when I was working full time in the university as an admissions tutor, and one of the things the overseas students used to say to me was, why is everybody wearing a football strip now, sort of thing, And I said, well, they just want to show their support, and that supports. Not just for Saturday, that supports all the time. It's 24/7 that support. It isn't just on a Saturday or whenever the match is. And you can guarantee by the end of the first year, most of those students were coming into university with their strips on as well. So, no, I would never criticise people for doing that. In fact, applaud them. Again, I go back to having Neil at home from once he started. He's had oodles of strips. In fact, when he went to Dubai to live and work, he sold on eBay dozens and dozens of strips that he had from way back, and some of them he got quite a lot of money for. So I've never criticised people for wearing their colours all the time. I perhaps should wear mine more often. I tend to wear colours generally, like I'm wearing a green now. Now, this green's because I want to show me support for PIF in a way, even though it's just a polo shirt. But I've got the green shirts upstairs. I could easily wear the proper football shirt as well. So, no, I've never criticised people for wearing their colours. In fact, it's great. It marks you out. It marks you out. You look at the television when there's any news on from anywhere in the world. If there's a big news thing on, I'm trying to think where. Oh, there was a big thing about some problems in Africa. Where was it? In Nigeria. And behind the camera, there was a whole crowd of people, and there was kids kicking the ball about. And there was about 5 Newcastle United tops.
Yeah.
And you think, oh wow, yeah. And I know for a fact that a lot of my ex-students in Greece and Spain and France buy tops for their kids. So no, I would never criticise people for wearing their colours. In fact, more the merrier, in my opinion.
Okay, I just want to advertise the fanzine subscriptions again. We have 56 subscribers. We only do 200 of these, so do not miss out. 4 issues for £25 next season. That includes your postage. And all proceeds from the fanzine go to Age UK, North Tyneside Dementia. We do need to hit 100 to make it viable. So if you are hanging back or waiting on until you got a few quid, that's fine. Ideally, cut-off point for this is probably going to be August the 31st. So you've still got a month to get your fanzine orders in. But yeah, 44 more ideally. George has got his in, Mitch has got his in. You need to get yours in as well. £25, 4 issues sent out throughout the season. And great idea that Johnny Allen gave us a few years back, but we put it into process last year, and we managed to hand over a substantial amount of money to Dementia Matters last year. So Age UK, North Tyneside benefiting. All you need to do to subscribe to this fanzine is go to our website, www.nufcmatters.co.uk, and we will send your fanzines out accordingly throughout the season. Okay, I'll do the ads at the end so we don't lose the momentum of the show. And George says, John, were you born during the war, or should I mind my own business?
No, I don't mind you asking at all. 1941, December 1941, and I can just remember as a 3-year-old being wrapped in my siren suit, which was like a special suit to put babies in, and be taken into the area shelter when the sirens went. When I was lived with my grandparents. My father was in the RAF. My mother was in hospital for many months after I was born because she was very ill. If I tell you that when I was born, my birth weight was 13.5 pounds.
Wow.
And my mother was a tiny dot. She wasn't 5 foot. She was just 4 foot something. So the trauma of producing that awful boy put me poor mum in hospital for ages. She was in hospital nearly a year, recovering in Princess Mary's. So yes, born in the war, 1941, and as I say, thankful that I had grandparents that could look after us. And when my dad went off to the war, to the RAF, and do his duty. And interestingly, that has football connotations as well, because when he was stationed away in Wales and other parts of the country, RAF St Athan and RAF near Ipswich used to be an American base there. If he got a weekend pass, well, he couldn't get home to Newcastle. It was ridiculous. So he used to find a football match to go to. So he went to some weird and wonderful matches. And if he couldn't get there, obviously, he would just find a one to go to, and he'd seen some wonderful matches, and sleep in a YMCA just to spend the weekend having football instead of just being on the base. He did play for his base team, his RAF base team, so that gave him some leisure as well. But 1941, December the 26th, Boxing Day. And I can hear my mother's voice saying, only just, because that's what she used to say. I missed Christmas Day by about 10 minutes, I gather. So.
Fantastic. George, what are your top 3 TV shows of all time and your 3 favourite Bond movies of all time?
Wow, that's a good one. 3 TV shows. Likely Lads for a local one and a British one, but the next 2 are American, I'm afraid. MASH, I loved MASH, and as did my son. And the other one, as Fraser. I think the writing in Fraser. If I could explain the other thing about that, the Fraser is one of the stars is a little Jack Russell dog, and we've always had Jack Russells who. When I see that dog on that program, it's like watching our Poppy. So that's my three favourites. But MASH was. I tell you what, there's a cabinet at the top of my stairs now, with which there is the whole series of MASH, plus the reviews at the end when they packed it in, on VHS tape, in this cabinet at the top of my stairs.
Brilliant. Have you still got the video player to play them?
As it happens, there is one attached to an old television in our Neil's room, but for ages I kept thinking about getting them put onto the CDs or even onto fast drives now, but not yet.
Three favourite Bond films?
Oh, sorry, yes. Doctor No, the first one's got to be one of the best ones, I enjoyed the last one, Quantum of Solace, and Goldfinger.
Yeah, Goldfinger is one of mine. Octopussy's brilliant. I really did like that one. As a Roger Moore one, yes. And the Man with the Golden Gun. The Man with the Golden Gun was good as well. Who starts in goal next season if Ramsdale comes in and we still have Nick Pope? Who would start in goal for you?
If Ramsdale comes in, he comes in as number one for me. Oh. I like Nick Pope as a stopper, but he has other flaws which are difficult to overcome in a Premiership goalkeeper. So if we buy Ramsdale, it would only be for one thing, and that is to give Pope a real challenge. And the best way to challenge him is put Ramsdale in first.
Interesting stuff. Johnny Mandel was the person who sang Suicide is Painless. Gary V, he's asking who sang the theme tune to MASH. That was who sang it. Ask George, in light of our new away kit, what's the three worst Newcastle kits that he can remember?
Oh, worst. Well, that's a good one. There aren't many that I haven't liked, to be perfectly honest. I'm struggling with that one. That is really a good one. There was there was a one which I'm trying to think was too much of a mixture for me. I'm trying to think which one it was, but
might give it some thought, George. It's difficult to get when you sometimes get drop one on you. So maybe just think of one if you can.
Fine. But it's a good question.
Who are your three amigos? And he means who are your three best friends?
Oh my goodness, that's even harder. Excluding my son, excluding Neil, Steve Hastie's up there with them. And as I have a former colleague who's a professional friend, Dr. Alan Ratcliffe, who is, as close as could be. And number three, gosh, what a predicament! I could pick any one of a dozen people, including Steve Wraith. I've got to say,
I was hoping you were going to say like Prince Philip or something.
Oh, yes. No, I mean, if you want to go down that line, in my time, I've met every single member of the royal family apart from one, and that's Prince Edward. But I've met all the others, and the best of the lot's Princess Anne. But that's another issue.
We'll leave it at Princess Anne. Anne. That's good. The dog was called Eddie in Fraser. Yeah, John.
That's right. Yeah.
There we go. Hated the red one we wore when Hereford stuffed us, says Stephen. Yeah, that has bad memories.
Yes, you've got it. Yes. That's what I was struggling for.
Did you ever watch Duncan Edwards play football, says Nick?
Yes, number of times. And I I've got to say, I seen him at Joker Park before I did it St James's Park, because the Busby Babes were coming to Sunderland, and my father, made sure we were on the walk through the tunnel to Jarrett to get on the bus to go to Joker Park and see them there. So that's where I first seen him. And if they were anywhere near me, father would go and watch the Busby Babes. But yes, seen him play a few times, and a pleasure. Just unbelievable. Could play anywhere. Had pace. Had physique. Heading ability. He played as a defensive or a midfielder, we call him in these days. But the fact is, he could play anywhere, and he would score 10, 15 goals a season easily. So yeah, if Duncan Edwards hadn't died at Munich, I think that when we went to the World Cup after that, we would have won that World Cup, and probably the one afterwards, on the back of Duncan Edwards, because that's how good he was.
Would you consider signing Darwin Núñez from Liverpool if he was available?
It would depend on the price, Steve, basically, to be perfectly honest. I wouldn't break the bank to sign him. I think I'd rather break the bank on somebody completely new.
Okay. Did you ever meet Princess Margaret, George? She was the best royal, says Rob.
No, I never met Princess Margaret. That's just before my time, I'm afraid. She was the favourite of some of the women in my family. I remember as a youngster, but no, I never met her. I got involved with things to do with the royal family when I was before I was made a deputy lieutenant, but particularly when I was made a deputy lieutenant, because you get involved in organising their tours and their security and all that sort of thing. Now, some of them hardly look your way, but others, like Princess Anne, go out of their way to say thank you and chat and find out something about you and so on. Yeah, but no, I didn't meet Princess Margaret.
Okay, scariest film you've ever seen?
Oh God! Oh, the first time I seen Dracula. And not helped by the fact that I went once with a group of us went, and one of the other lads was a real clown, and he got 2 matchsticks and he stuck them on his finger with a bit of sellotape. And when Dracula was about to bite, he leaned forward and stuck the 2 matchsticks in the neck of the lass sitting in front of him. She brought the theatre down and got all hied out. So Dracula, first time I seen Dracula, yeah.
Sean says, George, is this the lowest point for you since the takeover? Who on earth is at the negotiating table? Because this is embarrassing. Also, this isn't scouting all the players we are in for are well known. It's a joke. Is it the lowest point since the takeover is a question?
Last week when Isaac announced the fact he was looking at options, and I seen the absolute furore it caused amongst the fans and amongst everybody else. So I must confess, while I tried to be positive, that was quite a low point for me. But I recover myself by thinking about all the positive things and the positive things that are going to come. We're still 3 years into a 5-year project. And look what we've done so far. And I trust Eddie Howe to bring them more.
Okay. Did you ever meet Princess Diana, says Blue Rhythm Boy?
Yes, just briefly, but not to have conversation. I was in the same room, but I didn't actually have conversation with the lady.
Okay. George, if Steve needed an older character in one of his productions, could you step up to the role?
I'd love to. I'd be thrilled to think that I could do something like that. It's there are parts of my life when I've done certain things and I've had to learn lots of information to deliver at conferences and things like that. I used to tend to learn it so I could talk it and not read it. I didn't like going into a conference, for example, and having to read the information I was imparting. I used to like to deliver it as it was, so that meant actually sitting down and learning it. And there's other things I do where learning material is important. So I'd probably get a kick out of doing something like that.
Okay, next question. Has George ever seen Newcastle United being rejected as many times as they have in this transfer window? Says David.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, yes, there was a period of time in the Jack Charton stroke era of the club where Newcastle couldn't buy a player for money. The alternative was much earlier, was with Seymour, who seemed to be able to buy anybody. And at one stage when we came up from the second division to the first with Seymour at the helm, we had 49 professionals on the books, because Seymour used to buy. If he got any profit, he used to buy players, and we ended up with 49. And amongst them were English internationals. You know, we had centre forwards, including of young Jackie Milburn, Roy Bentley, Charlie Wayman, Albert Stubbins, all in the same team, you know, and all knocking on the door of England. So we've had that. But then there was a period, as I say, about that time when we were looking like being a yo-yo club, and Jackie Charton was manager. It didn't seem we could buy anything, and that was pretty awful. And worse than that, the stuff we were playing on the pitch was bloody awful as well, I've got to say. Ask Peter Beardsley about that.
John says, even in all, George, seriously, can anything really be done about PSR? We all know it's illegal, but a challenge seems very unlikely for whatever reason. Change to give fairness is absolutely essential, but how do you think it's going to happen? Surely the closed shop can't prevail, or can it? The current shambles within the corridors of St James's Park has got many scratching their heads. We've got no idea who's making the key decisions, and we don't even know if our CEO is still at the club. And their recent efforts hardly inspire confidence, leaving some to ask what's going on. Do we need a couple of Saudis on Barrack Road to get us back on track?
I think we need a couple of decision makers who have a more direct link to PIF and Saudi than we have at the moment. And also somebody who has a bit more football knowledge. I'm not a person that goes back either, so I wouldn't for 1 minute suggest that we need Amanda Staveley back, but we need that kind of person. We need that kind of person that can talk as well with the fans as she does with as you do with the directors. Who that person is, I don't know. There may be a former player who could fill that role. I don't think it would suit Shearer, but it might suit somebody like Les Ferdinand or somebody like that, who has the feel for the place and can talk to players as well as talking to directors and so on. So yes, there is a big gulf, and as our Neil and Stu Penman and Steve Hasty often say, is that as soon as there's a gulf, Newcastle fans will fill it with whatever they can, and it's usually very negative that they fill it with, unfortunately. But you can't blame them if they're not getting information. So yes, I think there is a need for a major change in terms of the transparency of who's running things. I'm not saying that we should know the information, but it would be nice to know that it'd be nice to know, for example, is our chairman sitting down at this moment and banging Silverstone's head on his desk saying, get some sponsorship, for God's sake, you know. It is, I can't believe it's that hard. And I listen to Neil and Stu and they talk about low-hanging fruit, and they're absolutely right. I mean, and yet nobody ever thinks about the sort of things that they talk about.
Do you get information behind the scenes that feeds your positivity? Not asking you to divulge, just a yes or a no, says Les.
Well, I have links that help me to remain optimistic. Is all I'll say. It's I'm not going to go further than that, because I'm not just going to blow a hole in me. I'd be touching other people as well.
Okay, does George think Yasser is the right man to be chairman of the club? For me, he isn't in Newcastle long enough, always just a flying visit.
I've got to say that's something he's got to look at himself, is that is he too thinly spread? But while he is, and while he keeps telling the world that he wants Newcastle United as number one, then he's got to do the work to make Newcastle United number one. So I'm content that when you see what he's done elsewhere, that's why I say I only wonder if he's spread a bit thin. But all the other sports, any other contacts he's had, have been monumental successes. And the stuff he's doing with FIFA and UEFA and all that sort of stuff can only be good for Newcastle United. So to have that figurehead, but maybe we need somebody in between who can do day-to-day things in a way in which they can report more directly to the fans.
Okay, Lawrence says, George, you're an excellent speaker. Thank you for giving your time to us. If you fancy a challenge, I'd like you to give us something to hope for before the season kicks off. George, you're always positive. I think that it does tend to rub off on people and people can't understand it. But it's better being positive than negative, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, this time next year, we'll be celebrating another cup win, and we'll be celebrating another entry into the European Football Championship.
Okay, there's George's prediction. I could listen to George all night, says Tom. What's your thoughts on Craig Hope? Says Blue Rhythm Boy. Not him as a bloke. I don't want you to get personal. Just his journalism. He held his own against Simon Jordan this morning on TalkSport. He was good. Yeah, I mean, I like Hope. He's probably one of the best out there for me. George, what's your thoughts on Craig Hope?
Yeah, I agree. He's generally okay. He disappoints me sometimes when he goes off on a tangent on something which, with the slightest scrutiny, if you dig, he's talking rubbish, it's clickbait. And I temper that with the way journalism is nowadays, the way newspapers are run nowadays. This isn't the old Journal and Chronicle down at Kelsey House, with John Gibson and Ken Mackenzie and people like that doing it locally. They now have masters that live in London, by and large. In fact, one of them doesn't even live in England. He lives in bloody Paris, Lord Rothermere. And sometimes they tell them what direction things are going. So I temper what I say about journalists nowadays. But I do get quite upset with modern journalists who go on a theme which you don't need to do much digging to find that it's just clickbait, is the people often hear on here say, and they're putting it out as gospel.
Yeah, Gary agrees. He says he's one of the best out there. Don't always agree, but he does seem to understand the importance of the club to the fan base. And Paul English says the only reason PIF have been successful in other things is because they could throw money at it. It's the one thing they can't do with us. You're quite right, Paul. Good to see new people in the chat. Jack says, George, always a pleasure to have your views. Steve, thanks as always for hosting. I will be hosting again tomorrow night. It's Ask Hasty. Steve Hasty's doing his monthly chat tomorrow night. That's 6 till 7. And then we have the Amigos, as usual, at 5 o'clock on Friday. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you are watching on Twitter, X as it's known now, jump over to YouTube, search NUFC Matters, and please hit the subscribe button. We do 7 shows a week, and you have already a subscriber and you haven't joined as a member, don't forget as well, you can join as a member just by going to the website. You get a pen, you get a badge, And you do get a key ring, a beer mat, and a fridge magnet, and you get your membership card as well. So get yourself on the website to do that. George, thanks very much. I will see you on Friday for the Amigos.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'd have a great conversation with Steve about things Newcastle, but it is nice to have your input as well. So thanks very much. Do enjoy it.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk, email info@mrvickies.co.uk, or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2-crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach, all excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk.